here, but I am at home. It's quite a windy day. I didn't end up going to the cabin this weekend because it was really, really raining. So I thought it would be a good idea to go over some of one of the most popular questions I have on my cabin is pretty much like what tools did you use to build it? And today now I'm going to go over the chainsaws that I have and that I have used to build the cabin. So I'll start off with the one that I use the most, and I'll move towards you guys for that. So pretty much, this saw is my little MS170. I think it's around a little 30cc saw. It's really not heavy. I don't have the specs for these things or anything. I just really use them a lot. But I think this is like one of Stihl. I think after this one, there's the MS, or before I should say, there's the MS150, and this is the 170. It has the little, it's, I mean, the strongest, smallest chainsaw they have, I should say. It has a decent amount of power. I have a little 16, I think it is, or I don't know what this is on it. It is, yep, a 16-inch bar. And it really just gets the job done. This is single-handedly the only pretty much saw I've used this 99% of the time to build my cabin. Every log, everything pretty much was done with this saw. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of power, so you have to let it, chew up the logs slowly but surely. Just cut through it, especially the big green pines. The resin really makes it hard on the saw. And in one of my latest videos, I used it to buck up a 8 to 10 inch maple, which was kind of rough on it. But as long as you just pretty much just hold it, and just let the weight of the saw go down, you'll get the work done. So now I'll move you guys a bit closer and we'll check out the saw that I used, probably the other 1% for the logs, because it was a saw that I had at the cottage itself. And if, let's say, it really happened but I forgot this at home, or there was something wrong with this, there's just really, really big trees we have to cut. When I say we, it's me and my dad, but went back to the cottage and got this saw. So here it is. Here is the little, I say little, but it's a 62cc Stihl 036, the Pro model. So this is one of Stihl's older saws, one of the older models I should say. Now the series are changing up. There's like the 6 series and the 1 series and whatever. They change pretty much every few years. But this is a good big to mid-size, I should say, saw. It has a decompressor on it and everything. Now I don't really use this thing so much just because I got the other saw on the back, but it really just gets the job done. Like I said before, big trees, pretty much whatever. It just gets it done. It's a decent size. I would say you're just everyday homeowner wouldn't need anything like this. The MS170 would just be enough, but if you're planning on building a cabin or something like that, I would say the small saw can do it. But I mean, we did one video a while back, way back when we were cutting the window out, the window frame, and the little 170, the little 30cc saw really had trouble. It would get pinched in between logs and stuff, just because it doesn't have the sheer force just to keep the chain spinning. This probably would have been okay. It runs nice and everything. It has a whole lot of torque. But, I mean, it was just way too heavy to lug through the woods, since no machinery could get there. No ATV, which would be really nice if I could get my ATV there, but I just can't. This weighs a significant a whole lot more than the little MS170. So hey, that's like the other 1% saw that I used. And now the next saw you see behind this, I probably bought like 2 or 3 months ago, and I'm getting a whole lot of use out of it. It's an overkill saw, but I'll still give you guys a closer look. So here it is, an overkill saw. I wouldn't really recommend this to anybody that just is a homeowner, but I've been wanting one for a really, really long time. It was either this or the MS880. Well, the wind's really picking up, but it was either, I mean, between those two saws, just because I've really been wanting a big saw for a long time. But when I purchased this, probably last month, I saw the 880 in person, and it just dwarfs this one. And this is by no means a small saw. It weighs probably, I would say, I have a 36-inch bar on here. It is not the light bar. I would recommend getting the light bar, but I mean, that's what they had, so that's what I took. I had to wait quite some time, I think like 3 weeks for my dealer just to get this saw in, because it's not something that they sell really often over here. So yeah, I pretty happy I bought this. But you know, I bought it, was like, okay, you know, it's good for bucking, it's good for doing whatever you want it to do really. You could use it for anything. It has so much power. This is a 92cc. So I have, you know, from smallest to biggest, a 30, a 62, and then a 92. So this is 3 times the size of the first saw that I showed you guys. But there is a key reason that this is in the video, because I want to leave it out, but I technically am using it now to build a cabin. If you guys noticed in one of my newer videos, I think it is, was it front porch or preparing for winter? I'm building a cabin. Or I am building a cabin, but I'm building the front porch for the cabin. It's a whole lot better way of saying it. So I'm building the front porch, but now I got the logs up, I framed it and everything. But now I needed a way to make planks. I'm like, I could buy the planks, which is kind of lame. Or I could make the planks, which would be way cooler. So I got myself an Alaskan sawmill. I'm not going to show you guys how that works or anything. I got me a little sawmill. I'm doing it the easiest way possible. I'm not running it with rails or anything. I'm just getting straight pines, straight spruce, and just, you know, less knots, less branches as possible, just so I can lean it on the bark and just go and make my first cut. So yeah, I'll try to just demo these saws for you guys. I'll just start them up real quick. All the other saws are stock. This one, I guess you could say I started, you know, modding it in quotes. I took the baffle out of the exhaust. I opened the exhaust, the exit for the muffler itself, the exhaust. I opened it up. I would probably like to get a ported exhaust and maybe polish the air intake and the exhaust ports on the cylinder head itself. But yeah. So I'll pretty much just show you guys. I'll go get the sawmill. I left it in the garage just because I didn't want to really bring it out. It'll make too much of a long video, but I'll still go and get it and show you guys. So here's a little mill. I'm just right off the bat, I'm just gonna say that this is not the Gerberg, or the one made in the US. That's like $400 or $500, I think it would have been for me. This is a one I got on Amazon for $170. I read all the reviews. They say it's the exact same one as the one made in the US. You put them side by side, you can't tell the difference. I got even the cheaper model that has a handle on it. One here has a pulley that you could put an L spike in the log at the end, and it's like a little boat winch here, so it helps you push it. Me, I just use, you know, good old shear power where I push on this side and give throttle, and I push them both to make planks. So yeah, I mean, pretty much the cheapest one I could get my hands on. It does the job really well. You know, I studied them a little bit before buying it. Obviously, I'm not going to spend like $200 and just throw it in the wind. But yeah, also, just before I show you guys the saws and all, if anybody really cares, just go over the prices. I mean, because people want to know, I guess, if you're going to buy a saw or something. And it's also something to factor in the budget. You know, obviously the budget is pretty important. This little one here, new, I think is about like 200 to like 300, I think, if you have a case. So pretty cheap, really affordable, really good saw. This one, the 036, I think the equivalent models now would be like a like a 390 or I think a 461. Now the newer model, the Magnum one, is a 72, so this is a 62, I think. So, yeah, I think these things newer are around like $800 to $1,000, a more modern version. And then the one that you see in the background, sawmill, like I said, is around 170, so just whatever, just say 150 to 200 bucks. And the saw itself, the 661C, was around 2,000. So really not the common man saw, really not something you want to buy just to prune your apple tree. But you know, I really wanted one. I got one. I'm getting accessories for it because I'm actually getting use out of it. So yeah, really, really happy with my purchase. I'll show you guys the planks that I'm getting done with the sawmill. So I'm just milling these straight on the floor. You can see there's just sawdust everywhere, and this is nothing. It makes like a 2-foot pile of sawdust just for like 3 planks. But I don't even know if you guys can see this, but the log is, this one is one of the taller parts I had of the tree that I cut. It's around, I would say this one's probably a 15-inch, 12 to 15 inch, the smallest part. This one on top is the planks that you're about to see. I probably have 1 more plank in here, 2 if I really want to get a small one. But this is an 11-foot long plank. Then if I move up here, there's a tomato plant, but here you go. That's an 11-foot plank right there. About, I would say this one, the first one in line here, is about 20 inches, 18 to 20 inches. And I mill these straight with no wedges. So it's pretty rough on the saw. I would say about every 3 planks, I just shut the saw off and let it cool down a little bit. It also takes about 2/3 of gas to do 1 plank, so have a gas can handy. So I'm just gonna start the saws now. Just a quick disclaimer: the saws are cold. They haven't been started now in like a week because I haven't milled any planks. I haven't went to the cottage or anything. So they are cold. I'll just crank them, and what you get is what you get. Pretty much is what they sound like when they start, I guess. So I'll start off with the smallest one. Literally my most used saw. So really easy to start. Really easy. You just operate it with 1 hand if you want. Not recommended, but it's really light, really easy. Small engine. The most used saw that I have. Now this one, obviously the 036, it has a decompressor. I put it on, choke on, a lot bigger engine, so it's a little bit harder to start, but not that bad. As you can see, a whole lot more power, way more weight, but that comes with power. Really good saw, good torque. It revs pretty high, so it just eats wood. So yeah, now I'll back up for the next one just because it's really loud. I don't know how much the wind is affecting the sound, but this one is probably, I'm gonna have to turn the volume down when I edit this because it's going to be super loud. So I'll just back up a little bit. It also doesn't help that I cut the exhaust baffle out when I open the port, so get a full picture here of what this looks like. Choke. Bigger engine, but really not that much harder to start. They have an elastic now, or Elasto start they call it, so really not that bad. So again, 92 cc's. Again, the 36-inch bar, you know, the opened up exhaust port and such really affects the sound, but also gives it a bit more power. I think it's like a 3% or 5% increase. But yeah, so yeah, that's just my little 2 cents of my saws. Again, sorry for the wind. People were asking what tools I use, what saws I use for the most part. Again, I got all these humongous things, but I use the smallest one the most just because it's the lightest. Now this winter I think I'll bring this one to the cabin. Might buck up some trees, you know, but we'll see how it goes. I have another video that I want to do on something else that I purchased, which is for me more exciting than my saws. But yeah, that should be coming in the upcoming weeks. So hopefully I answered some of the questions. Just leave a comment on the saws or on whatever you want on the cabin, doesn't matter, and I'll try to answer it. So thanks for watching.